Welcome into episode 2 of the Sky and 2I show. Of course, I am Skywalker Still, and my wonderful co-host, not one, but 2I, Isha Morrison. What's up, lady? Hold on, I got you. Hey, hey, hey. What the kids do? Don't they go like this?
You're not gonna embarrass me right now. Hey.
Hey, man, I can't keep up with all these kid dances, man. They do
I
all
don't
this craziness.
I don't know this man. I never seen this man a day in my life.
Don't get it twisted, though. I
I
can
know you could
dance.
probably get down.
I can
know you
dance. I can definitely dance, but I can't do all the
nice.
TikToking and all that stuff. I can't do it, man. Maybe these new Cowboy players can, because they born in 2001 and 2002, so they know all these TikToky dances, man.
Yeah, I'm not coordinated like that either. So I ain't even gonna hold you, because baby, let me tell you, I can't do none of them line dances.
Well, you telling on yourself now, man. You tell it on yourself. Look, we have a jam-packed episode for you guys, Cowboys Nation. This is the first or the second practice open to the media, but the first time we have our girl 2I, and she's going to give us a lot of nuggets from camp that maybe you've seen across the Twitter sphere, or maybe you've heard on other podcasts, but you will get some exclusive stuff as well from our girl 2I once we get to that part of the show. But let's jump right into it, 2I, and get to first down. And in first down, I want to talk about Schotty. We are really excited about his pressers every time, but I think as the more he does, the more we should be like, okay, let's not talk about how cool it sounds and fun it sounds, and actually peel back the layers of some of the things that he's saying in these press conferences. And you were there at the presser. What were some of your takeaways? And obviously, I'll give you some of mine. We can go back and forth.
I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me was he was asked about, I think, player input or things like that. He said, I will listen to anybody. And that was something that I was happy about, because we've seen this through the league, but we've also seen it in this building, that player suggestions and open door policy and things like that hasn't always been respected. Like, yeah, guys might bring up stuff, but Schotty is saying, like, I know my players, and if they want to come to me with something, I am going to listen to them. Doesn't mean I'm always going to do it, but I am going to have an open forum to where they're able to do that and they feel comfortable to do that. And he said, we're going to be a physical football team, and he said we will be. Because he kind of, at first he kind of said, like, I think, or something like that. And he was like, no, he corrected himself and said, we will be. And I was like, oh, okay, Schotty, like, I see you. Like, I see you.
Stay right there on that point, because I actually have that in my notes here where he did correct himself. He said, we want to be a physical. We will be a physical football team. And you know what it reminded me of? There's a famous video clip of when Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys, and he said, we have to win. We will win. Winning is the name of the game.
Right.
And I'm like, man, that kind of reminded me of what Schotty just said when he was like, hey, we want to be, no. We will be a physical football team. And they're preaching that. Now, I will say, we've heard that over the years with the previous coach, but I do think there is something different about, them preaching it, because they're actually, utilizing action behind it. With the guys that they brought in from a coaching standpoint, Clayton Adams, Connor Riley. And yes, they didn't go out and get high-profile running backs, but they did draft a big bruiser in Maffa, and then they signed a bruising-type running back in, Javonte Williams. So they put the plan in action to be physical, and then drafting Tyler Booker. So I do think there is something different in him saying it than the previous regime.
Yeah, I mean, and then also, too, you hear that echoed in Tyler Smith talking, who I think is ascending as one of the leaders of this locker room. There's a general consensus, but also, too, the energy is high. Like, they talk about competing and all that stuff, and I think Tyler said, like, I would rather my coach have to tell us to, like, pull back than to tell us to not have to tell us, like, to come on with it. And I can tell you, even from the competitive period, it is competitive. It's fun. These guys are celebrating. These guys, like, when somebody breaks up a pass, they run it on the field. Like, there is, and then even with CD not catching that was a night. It was a fantastic ball by Dak. As a matter of fact, CD, he basically just cut inside, like it looked like a slant, and then he went like, and he was open. He had a step on Hook. He had multiple steps on Hooker, to be honest. And Dak placed the ball, and he just didn't catch it. And just the camaraderie and Pickens being like, "I got to do push-ups with my brother."
Mm-hmm.
That's a start. And I'm speaking from veteran. I'm speaking as a veteran because that's how it was with us. Like, if somebody else was messing up, they would hold you accountable, hold everyone else accountable, or your battle buddy accountable, and that builds, like, I don't know, it does build community in a sense. And so I'm glad that they're on that type of time. But also, too, I did want to talk about Schotty mentioning that Dak is in a developmental phase, because clearly that's being taken out of context.
Way
And
out of
started with
context.
that, losing their damn minds. Like, y'all, do yourself a favor, go listen to the whole presser, number one. But number two, this is nothing different. When you talk about Mike McCarthy having his QB school, being specific, having how he wanted Dak during things, Shotty is very presently understanding that what Dak's strengths are. He always is mentioning like what players' strengths are, playing to their strengths. And also too that Dak is coming off of an injury. How can we avoid this injury? How can we avoid more injuries in the way that we play? But also too, how can we incorporate things more consistently that maybe he is good at that he has not been able to do? And we did get to see a little bit of that on the yesterday. We did get to see him on the move a couple times. I know that was something me and you talked about.
Yep.
And his legs look fresh. He looks fine. Like he looks fine. Like
Yep.
from a physical standpoint, he looks totally fine.
Yeah, national media ran with that excerpt, and it was a very small part of an entire quote
Yeah.
that makes sense. He's not wrong. I've heard Peyton Manning talk about this. I've heard Tom Brady. I've heard Tony Romo all say you're never done tweaking your game. And
Mm.
as Cowboy fans, Tony brought it up a bunch of times, and you actually saw Tony Romo's game improve even late in his career because of just small little things in his throwing motion and his mechanics and things like that. So, Dak and any great quarterback should always be working to tweak
I
and
agree.
better your game. So I just think that was just silly. But I do. We'll get to Joe Milton later because that is the real developmental quarterback, right? That's the guy
Mhm.
that's truly they're trying to develop just to get to the point of being a serviceable starting quarterback. But we'll talk about that. For me, some of the things I like out of that presser, Tuai,
Mhm.
is he talked about, you brought up that energy, and he said, how do you want to build this identity in OTAs? And he brought up they want to be an attacking unit. They want to
Mm.
have that high effort and high intensity. And he said one of the things he's proud of in phase 3 is that there is that. And like Tyler Smith said, he has to tell them, hey, yo, chill. Chill a little bit. We'll be a little bit too intense, a little bit too.
You trying to get fined.
Yeah, so I like that as well in the sense that we don't have to tell them to ratchet it up. We got to tell them to calm down a bit so that we're not getting these fines, et cetera, et cetera. But even more important is that he once again hammered home the schematic aspect of what he wants to do, his beliefs. He
Mhm.
was asked about the philosophies of his offense, and he once again brought up cut splits, shifts, motions as
Yes.
his philosophical beliefs. And I'm just like, are y'all hearing this? This is music to my ears from a XO nerd that really believes in schematics and understand the game is one beyond that. But that
Mm.
does help because if you can help put your players in best positions to win, then the players don't have to, out talent you every single rep out there. And when you match a team that has the same talent as you
Yeah.
better be able to have some coaching that can help out. And when I heard that too, I'm like, all right, this is the second time in the presser he's brought it up. I'm ready to see it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, again, like you watched him last year, because I think a lot of people are new to him in a sense, like,
Mm-hmm.
because most of the time people are just watching Mike McCarthy's pressers and go about their business. They might have watched Zimmer's or whatever. Like nobody was really, but also too, I feel like, in fairness, Shotty wasn't being advertised to us as someone that had like really had a lot of say. Even Mike McCarthy said that Shotty was the person that basically prepared everything, and it was Mike McCarthy's job to lay it out on game day and to put it into action. So I think people kind of discounted his position in a sense. So they weren't really listening to all the stuff he said. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure he probably said some of this stuff in his interviews. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
100%.
pretty sure he was in there like, I would have did this. Actually, I have notes on this game
He's dirty
where things
macking.
went wrong, and I did it, and I would have done this, that, and the third. And yeah, he's forward thinking, and that's what we've been asking for. That's why we wanted the Ben Johnsons. That's why we were looking at the Liam Cohens and guys like that. We wanted someone that would look at what the league is today
Yeah.
and say, I don't care what some of my old philosophies are. We need to fit some of the trends of this NFL right now. And I think Shotty understands that.
And that takes us right into second down. We're going to get to eye in the sky with two eyes. So she's going to take us on the field from what she saw on offense and defense. And I want to start off with offense because of a fantastic segue here. We talked about the scheme, right? We talked about those shifts and cut splits and the motions and things like that. But one thing I haven't seen reported is that happening on the field? Now, granted, it's only been 2 practices, right? But is that happening? And, Tuai, when we were going over notes and things like that, that was one of the first things that stuck out like a sore thumb to me is like, this really happening? So what did you see out there from a schematic standpoint? Is he putting those words into action on the field?
Oh, yeah. During the competitive period, I was able to see we're seeing more shifts, misdirection. There were quite a few times the defense was on their heels. I mean, and I'm talking about in the run game specifically, where you see all this motion, you see all this shifting, and then you see Javonte Williams just burst out of the whole other side, like the defense is going in the other direction. And I'm sitting there like, I don't like that defensively, but
Yeah.
but wait, I can't figure out if this is a good thing or a bad thing because you are scaring me. And again, they're not
It's
in pads,
OTAs, yeah.
can't tackle the running back. I got it, but just seeing some of the way that they are, and again, crossing routes, heavy. I saw a lot of that yesterday. Obviously, I tweeted that Treshaun Holden came across the field. Joe Milton had a great pass to him. They are really trying to. They touched a lot of parts of the field. Dak had a couple of deep balls. They had some intermediate game, like the running backs. I saw Lipke line out wide. I seen the running backs lining out wide. They're doing a lot of spread. So yeah, I see some of it. Obviously, they're not going to show us too much.
Right.
They're not going to show us too much. But in the little bit that I'm seeing, it is important. I think the shifts and stuff are, and they're going to be new for this defense. Like some of these guys that have been here and are like, oh, like nah, like this is a different feel. It feels like so. And we heard Schotty mention that he believes that what Clayton and Lincoln Riley, Connor
Connor
Riley,
Riley, yeah, I know. Trust me.
Jesus, what they do offensively fits some of the guys on the offensive line, like a Tyler Guyton. So anyway, I that was something that I definitely noticed yesterday. Where I was like, where is he at? There were a couple of times I was fooled.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there he is.
He popped out nowhere. You said something right there that I think could help the defense moving forward. How many times does the Cowboys defense over the years run into one of these offenses that use shifts and motion and misdirection, and they've been fooled, right? And you say, well, damn it, you played against them, a lot, but you don't have an answer. Well, probably because you're not practicing against it. So now they're going to be practicing against this often, right? And I'm not saying that's going to be the elixir that's going to fix everything, but I'm pretty sure they'll be well more prepared for it because when the Cowboys offense is doing this against you all camp, whether it be the scout team in practice or whatever, I think you're going to be a little bit more in tune with, okay, I've seen this a number of times throughout the year. This misdirection ain't going to work on me, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can say, well, Sky, that can happen throughout the league. Every other team practice against it too. Fair enough. But I'm just talking about the Cowboys.
Yeah.
The Cowboys offenses they've played practice against, I should say, have not been anything remotely close to a bunch of shifts, motions, misdirections that I believe will happen with this offense moving forward.
Not consistently, even
Yeah.
say like not consistently. So yeah, I mean, like I said, like we're not gonna see a whole bunch, but I do think I did notice like the misdirection and stuff like that, and then like last minute, like at the end of this, like right before the play clock is out, like there's a shift right there at the end, or they bring a tight end in or something like that. And so I was just like, oh, okay, I see a little bit of the vision, Shotty. I see a little bit of the vision.
I love it, man, because again, I love studying offenses, and I look at the McDaniels and the Shanahan and McVays. They will literally shift 3-4 times before they snap the ball. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, and
just
that's gonna teach this defense to just stay patient and to, because half the time, like sometimes these shifts have a purpose, sometimes they're for information, sometimes they're for spacing, some it just depends. So the more time, like, and that's why it is harder to play defense now to me.
yeah, I agree.
People aren't playing people straight up. Like, I ain't gonna lie, last year when the Cowboys played the Steelers, I was like, thank you, Jesus. Because because offensively, they not about to do a whole bunch of fancy schmancy. They really gonna play
Nope.
you straight up, and most teams aren't doing that anymore because you have to finesse in some degree. You have
Yo,
to, and when you got linebackers and DNs running 4-3, you got to figure out a way to get them off their game because if you play them straight up, 9 times out of 10 they gonna beat your guy. Like they gonna beat your guy. So
yeah.
I appreciate him trying to have more of that. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that as camp comes and stuff like that.
There's my position group. I think that is very intriguing and probably more solid to me than maybe most believe, and that's the tight end group. I think healthy Ferg being back. I'm a big believer in Brevis Spanford. I liked him when he came out. Schoonmaker's a guy who's a second round pick that's been pushed since he's been here, so he ain't got no choice, right? But to improve, or he gonna get that spot taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got some of these other guys, the Fairweathers. We'll see what happens with what's the kid that got hurt last year in camp?
Stevens,
John Stevens. We'll see what happens with him.
yeah.
But I think the top three tight ends on this team serve a purpose. They're bigger bodies in regards to Spanford and Schoonmaker, and we know Clayton Adams likes to run a lot of 13. I think Ferg. A lot of people are down on Ferg because of last year. I'm not. I think there's context to his game. I think he bounces back,
Mm-hmm.
but right now, and I know it's no pads or anything like that. What are you seeing out of that room when you first go about it?
Well, definitely yesterday, Ferg had a couple of passes. They're setting him up to get him in the open field, so it's just like a pass into the flat. Obviously, some misdirection before that to where he is literally wide open. There was
Mm.
a couple times he was wide open, wasn't nobody within like 5 yards of him to give him some of those yak opportunities. Brevin Spanford is becoming one of Dak's favorite targets. He's becoming somebody that he looks for. And again, we saw that in the first practice, like, dang, Brevin getting a lot of fun. And then and then yesterday you see him make some pretty good. I mean, like seriously, I'm talking about hand catching, like for Dak Prescott in the middle of the field, not super down the field, just in the intermediate game, but efficient. And you see him turn up field. I always thought he had a little bit of wiggle. He's not the most,
He
fluid and
got
all
some
that stuff.
yak to him.
No. He definitely has yak ability. He
Mhm.
does. He's maybe that is something he's advancing in his game. I talked to him in the locker room last year. It was important for him to not only because he was a dominant blocker in college, and he did tell me that he had his come to Jesus moments
Mhm.
while he was like adjusting to the NFL. He's a big dude. This is
Yeah.
like
Six
Brevin's like what?
seven, two
Yes.
seventy, I think.
So he had to put on a little bit more muscle, which it looks like he has. He shed some of that baby fat, and he looks himself. But Ferg looks himself too. He got that pep in his step, that bounce to him. You see him looking for yardage after the catch again because we did see last year that he was a little reluctant, especially after his injury. So
Concussion. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I will say Schoolmaker had I think a drop or two. I want to say he had one drop, and it was key too. And Dak put it on the money, and it was just like, dog, you don't need that. Like
And you mentioned he looked frustrated with that. That
yes,
Dak
yes,
that is.
there you could see visibly that Dak was like, come on. But that's also because these periods are competitive. I'm telling you, like the defense is defensive and offensive energy. They are trying to succeed when they're running these plays. They're not obviously again, they're not in pass. We know. We know. But at the same time, you see that fire that they're really trying to go at each other's necks. And so he's like, damn, that's a point for the defense. I'm like, I gotta
Yeah.
hear this all week. I gotta hear this all week. So, and then as far as the other gentleman in the room, um, Rivaldo Fairweather is somebody I'm keeping my eye out on because I specifically have talked to Lula Wells, and that is someone that he is excited about. And he has some thoughts and stuff very similar to kind of how he was with John Stevens. And again, I empathize for John Stevens. To tear your ACL twice is insane.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what to expect from him. But I do know that Fairweather is a bowling ball in the open field and can make you pay as well. He's not super shifty, but he will run through your face. Now, I do think I'm gonna ask you, Sky, if your tight end room ends up being, hypothetically speaking, Jake Ferguson, Brevin Spanford, and Hunter Lipke. I mean, Schoon's gonna make it, but if Hunter Lipke's your fourth like tight end person, because like I said, they're lining him out
as like an H back, basically.
Yeah, I guess, but Schotty said they view him in a tight end, fullback, and running back capacity.
Yeah. That's basically what H-back does. The Jameez Olawale, Chris Cooley's of the world, they move those guys around in that way. I personally am fine with that because thinking about how Clayton Adams wants to use these guys. You have a pass-catching weapon in the mode of Jake Ferguson, and then you got two bigger bodies that, are supposed to be blocking type guys, but they have some pass catching ability to them. Schoon, he did improve last year. You saw some improvement in that aspect. Brevin Spanford, as you saw him as the year went by, get more comfortable and things like that. So and then obviously Lipke is a wild card guy, right? So I'm fine with. I'm not saying, hey man, this is gonna be the gangbuster of a room. This is the best room in the world, nothing like that. You said something. Ferg looked like himself. If Ferg is himself, and George Pickens and CD Lamb are out there, that changes everything. I think for Ferg and Dak's connection for 2025, because the problem that we had last year, and even though they weren't the same from a dynamic standpoint, they still were successful. But you saw Ferg utilized totally different because of McCarthy didn't want to throw the seam shot or didn't want to call the seam shots. It didn't want to take the long drop backs. It wanted to get the ball out quick. There wasn't a whole lot of creativity in utilizing him. I think the most creativity we saw was in the Pittsburgh game. So if he's back to himself, remember guys, he was an 800-yard, 8-touchdown guy in 2023. When you bring in the playoff statistics. So this isn't just some run-of-the-mill dude. He can be highly productive. It'll come down to Spanford and Schoonmaker complimenting him and making that room at the top, solid when it's time to run, because they're going to run a lot of 13. And now we'll see how they do with 12. If we can get a second guy to be a dynamic too, that can change some things too.
Yeah, I was going to mention to you, he just seems, and as someone that's been around Ferg, obviously the other girls on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, and those, like, we've been around Ferg. His spirit seems like it was before. He seems happy, he seems joyous, you see him joking, you see him dancing. And I will say, I feel like we missed some of that last year. But also too, in regard to the 13 personnel and things like that, I know that you took a deep dive into Clayton Adams' system. Was that out of necessity? Or was he not running other things? Like, who was I can't remember who the second back or the second tight end was for.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with their second and third tight end group.
Ertz was there, right?
Ertz was with Washington last year.
Yeah, so he was there the year before. So I do want to look at, was 13 personnel based off of necessity? Like, he couldn't do other groupings as much?
If I had to guess, and this is a great question to ask Clayton, by the way, but if I had to guess, I would say it was what they did well. And if you listen to what Clayton says and what Schotty says is, hey, we're going to do what we do well. And, and I'm just more so speaking from a run game standpoint. When you watch a lot of their productive runs, first of all, they utilize 13 personnel in Arizona at the second highest rate in the league. Okay, so they're utilizing it a lot, and they were good at it. They would use a lot of pre-snap motion, at-snap action. The tight ends were either wham blocking or they're lead blocking. They're lined up in the backfield. They'll start off wide, shift inside. They did a lot of clever things, and you got some productive runs out of it. So that's why I bring that up a lot. And when you say out of necessity, I just think they did it well. They did
Okay.
have Trey McBride, who they didn't have to run a bunch of 13. They could have just went 11 personnel and said Trey going to
Mm,
crush it, and he did. But
mm.
they said, nah, everybody going to be involved. So that is something that Ferg is going to have to reprogram himself with. And this is why I say reprogram. Year one, a lot of people are down on Ferg's blocking. His rookie year,
Oh, he was
Jake
fantastic.
Jake Ferguson was a blocking dude.
Yeah.
Like I understand he has some great catches and great highlights as a pass catcher, no doubt about it. But that linebacker mentality, he used to be a linebacker, was ingrained in him in year one. I think in year two he was more so, okay, I gotta be a pass catching weapon guy, and it wasn't the same, or year three, whatever it was. And now I think he's going to have to dial that back in because this team is going to run the ball and they're going to
Yeah.
require the tight ends to run block.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's something we're gonna see. When and again, I think I see this with a lot of the best offenses is that they have guys like that are pass catchers, that are stars, that are willing to block on the outside, get downfield, get to the second level, ain't scared to do it. There's a lot of selflessness in establishing your run game,
Yeah.
and especially to have a run game that has explosive plays downfield. Somebody got to be blocking down there. Somebody got to hold down that safety. So, yeah, the wide receivers and tight ends are going to be asked to be physical at the point of attack. I will say, too, something that I haven't heard much people talk about is the fact that, yeah, in reference to talking about Jake Ferguson coming along, twin, if Jake Ferguson come along, well, first of all, no, Pickens makes life easier for him, too.
Yes.
It's not just CD Lamb. That's
Mm-hmm.
going to make things open up for him as well. So we talking about CD being grateful for Pickens. Man, listen, teams literally were looking at Ferguson as our wide receiver too last year. Let's keep it like, and even though he was banged up, he still was the biggest threat offensively outside of Cavante Turpin next to CD Lamb.
Yeah. I think it was Allen Robinson who said this about George Pickens, and I hope I'm not misquoting him. He's like, I've never seen a team play more two high safeties than when I played with George Pickens, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, shoot, if they're doing that in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh don't have a CD Lamb.
Mm.
You better believe they're going to put two dudes on that roof majority
Mm.
of the time. And when that happens, guess what's open? That middle of the field.
Yes.
And I just really would think that they're going to try to attack that with whether it be CD Lamb motioning inside, whether it be Jake Ferguson, whether it be the line or the running backs. But yeah, George Pickens opens this thing up for everybody, not just CD Lamb. You're absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that was something I was thinking about yesterday. I was like, I'd be happy too. Shoot.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd be happy too. So go ahead, let's
Hey,
go.
um, look, I'll let you take this one because I just refuse to get crazy about the running back room until we get to camp and preseason. But if there is something to report amongst the running backs, please do, because we are trying to figure this thing out right now. And we talked about this last week. Looks like Javonte Williams is the guy that they're leaning on early right now, which
Mhm.
is no surprise to me. But who else, right? And how is Javonte coming along in shorts?
Well, all of them. I'm
I
tired
know
of
I
you.
mean to be petty. I'm
You
just
had
saying.
to throw it out. You had to put it out there. You could not let it go.
I
You had
couldn't.
to say it in short.
I'm trying, y'all. He's still working on me. All right?
No, obviously I mentioned that Lipke. I don't know who in their right mind think that Lipke not gonna make this team. Listen, Lipke gonna make this dang team.
Yeah.
I've talked to a couple people who don't think he gonna make the team, and I'm looking at them like,
Hmm.
are y'all for real? I've talked to people who don't think he's gonna make the team, and I am like, how Slay?
Nah, if they want to be what they want to be, Lipke's making this team, man.
He's essential. He is such a chess piece if
Yeah.
used correctly. So he's put on more size. I can't wait to talk to him. I because that's my dog. I'm like, look at you looking like a grown man. But you see, guys, their
The
second year
camera.
shed a lot of that baby. They nuggets to me. To shed a lot of that baby
They probably be
fat.
like, "Oh, Auntie coming into the locker room,
They
yo.
do call me auntie.
Hey, Auntie." That's probably
Some
what
of
they be
them,
saying.
hey auntie. Yeah, some of them call me auntie. Uh, some of them call me Littlefoot. I get no respect. You know my
Do you
J's.
remember?
You
Do
know
you?
some of my J's got Velcro on them because I'm small.
Do
So
you
they
do
be
you, do you look? I might cut this out. I don't know, but do you remember on Marvel when old girl was arguing with M'Baku and he said, "You bald headed demon." You better not piss nobody off in there. You bald headed demon. I'm sorry.
Oh, they wouldn't call me that. I definitely ain't bald headed no more. Like that was, but no, 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 no,
All
no,
right,
no, no.
Joe. All right,
It
we
was
back to it. Back to it.
Lipke is being asked to do a multitude of things. He's on the field a lot. Like I said, definitely see a difference in his body. I think that's going to help him with his blocking. Running backs will be used in wide receiver capacities.
Mm.
That's one of the things I took away from it. You had guys line up wide, you had guys line up in the slot, you had guys line up in the backfield. Running backs will be used in wide receiver capacities.
Hold up.
Why
Wait a
you gotta
minute.
wait? Hold up.
Wait a minute. I love to hear that. You know why?
I know.
Jadon Blue.
Yeah, he's so oh no, I can't do that. That's a grown man.
Yeah, let's not do
Oh,
that, Auntie. Let's not do that. Okay, but I like Jadon Blue when I hear that because dude runs routes like a receiver.
I didn't know he was that small.
In what way? In what height?
They said
Weight?
he's 5'9".
Huh? You don't
I
think
ain't
he's not
lying.
even 5'9"?
He looks 5'9". I'm tiny,
Hmm.
but he looks there. The first time I seen him running, I had to look because I thought it was Deuce.
No, stop it.
No, he's obviously taller than Deuce, but you don't see gentlemen on the field that like that are that height that much. So I literally looked and I was like, oh,
That's interesting because I think he goes 5'9" or 10ish and about
yeah, that's
200
what he's
pounds.
listed as. I'm guessing it's more
I
towards
mean,
the 5'8".
the combine. That's they wait. That's the combine is. I'll go by that measurement
I
because they don't
know.
lie on there. They lie on they college measurements. But
He's a very compact
yeah,
5'9".
he's not skinny in that sense. He's linear.
No, 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 no. He
Yeah.
looks strong. He looks
Mm.
strong. He had a play where he bounced to the outside yesterday, and the guys went crazy about it. Javante bounced to the outside yesterday and showed off a little bit of his foot quickness, but also too, he can put his foot in the ground and go. I think that's something like he's never gonna, and you've talked about it. He's not some like super shifty, gonna do a whole bunch of back cutting type guy, but I'm looking for him to be able to put his foot in the ground and go, and he did yesterday. And I was like, obviously no pads and stuff, but I was just like, I'm trying to see those little things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see confidence from him to do that, to trust that knee.
No,
So
that's important.
yeah. So that's about it, man. Like I think the running back's going to be asked to block. I think they're going to be asked to catch passes. I think they're going to be asked to do. I think this running back room it might be asked to do more than any running back room that we've seen in a while, as
Mm.
far as utility, and being versatile.
And
I don't think like yo. Sorry, go ahead.
no, and I think that could be why right now it is a diverse room. Look, it's not for me. It's not a room that you're like, yo, one of the best rooms in the league. You could argue it's actually still at the lower level, but I think it is diverse, right? You got your kind of lead power, kind of can be a 3-down guy in Javante Williams. Jaden Blue is your scat back run, number 2 type of throw him out the backfield, big play. I think he's a low volume, high impact type of guy. Doesn't need 15 touches to make. He can get you, 7, 8 touches, and he'll probably get a couple big plays out of that, right? And then, here's some good things about Miles Sanders, although I believe he has an uphill battle. But some of the rookies, or the other rookie, Phil Maffa's another powerful, strong guy. If he's a part of this rotation, they're all kind of different. Deuce Vaughn, who may not even make the team, a shifty, back. They're all different in a way that complement each other, but we don't know who the 3 are going to be, and that's why it's a huge question mark.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, not much to report about those guys that is like super fancy. It's hard to gauge, but I will say, I think Miles Sanders, and that's the weird thing about him is like he is gonna shine because I think his vision is just better. He's been here, like he's a veteran. So he reads the field faster than from what I saw in practice. It just seems like he's reading what's going on faster.
That's encouraging for Miles, to be honest,
Which
for me.
makes sense. Well, yeah, which makes sense because Yeah, because he was finding open spots when he had, opportunity. And I was like, oh, that's just that veteran vision serving him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. We don't know nothing yet, but I
Them
do
pat,
know these guys are gonna be asked to do different things, a lot of different
them pads, come on, they be popping, and we're gonna figure out what's going on in that running back room for
things. We'll
sure.
find that real quick.
Let's get to third down and switch to the other side of the ball. We're going to stay on the field. We got eye in the sky with two eyes. Make sure y'all keep it locked. Third down defense. Okay.
Mm.
Now we buried the lead for real, for real. Something we were excited about coming into today's show is, and with defense, let's start up front because the games went up front, right? They say that, so we're going to start up front. Is there a rookie?
Don't start nothing. You
Okay,
gotta
all right.
start.
I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna do this. But
You gotta start nothing.
is there a rookie that's starting here, or we look? I'm not trying to take this. I'm not trying to take this and run with it and be like, hey man, week one, this big fella finna start.
Mm.
But when you told me defensive tackle Jay Toia was running with the ones, what did I say? I said, hold on, Tuai. Was he just running with the ones, or did he start off with the, because you know how that is, right? Hey, ones, get out there. We're in competitive teams. You're
Mhm.
ones, and he's the first one out there. Is that correct, Tuai?
Yeah, he started with the ones. And I know that Shotty, he's being careful. He's making sure that he's saying, no, don't do that. He's making sure he's saying in pressers that no, he's saying that they're just creating competition.
Good,
So
good,
maybe he's creating some fire
good.
in McMozzie.
Mc, McMozzie.
McMozzie.
Why McMozzie?
I, I don't know. Mick just adds emphasis to me.
I
So
think I think of McDonald's. You saying he out here just at he just eating
no,
McDonald's?
no, 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 no. Mozzie looks like he's fine. It's
Okay,
just I think that that's what they're trying to do,
yeah,
and that's what I really believe that they want to play their best five or their best four or
right,
whatever
right.
it
Get the
is.
best guys out there. Yeah.
Yes, I do think that, and but Tuia, if you look at a lot, if you talk to a couple scouts who I did, he he fell product of because kind of because of the fact that this DT class was really heavy. Let's be honest here, but he also fell because he is a nose tackle,
Positional. Yeah, yeah, the position. And he's
and people are looking for. I mean, yeah, we have some nose tackles in the league and stuff, but most of the time, people are looking for some pass rush ability from
just about to
inside,
say them or
and that's
them nose tackles that get drafted early have pass rush ability.
yeah, and that's
He
not his
doesn't.
game. So, yeah, there are some scouts and stuff that were high on this kid that thought he was consistent, that he his anchor was good, that he could really build upon. Like obviously he was strong in college, but that could even be emphasized in the league. So I'm not surprised that he's a guy that they're interested in. But also too, Solomon Thomas, we talked about
Oh yeah,
him.
we gonna get there. We get there in a
Oh,
second.
okay,
Yeah, I want to still so stay here. Stay here.
no
Okay.
bad.
Stay here. Because I love Jay Toia, the prospect, and I told myself yesterday on the show, I was like, look, I'm not going to try to get too high on the 7th round pick. I understand, even though I think he was valued much higher than that. But he is a rookie, and I do understand these things take time, right? But hearing that, and you talk about competition, and all jokes aside, I am glad that because I said this to Vach actually. I texted him. I said, "Look, man, I was hoping they'd bring somebody in here that would piss off Mozzie Smith because I want to see Mozzie Smith play pissed off. All right, maybe they don't go out and get a veteran. I still believe they should. Maybe it's Jay Toia. Maybe it's the rookie that pisses him
Yeah.
off. Like y'all went out and got another nose tackle and now he's getting one reps over me. And honestly, the story isn't really Jay Toia. Okay, it's Mozzie.
Mhm.
Can Mozzie take that next step at defensive tackle? And I'm hoping having a guy like Toia push him opens up a different aspect to his game mentally and physically where he does because we're going to need him if they don't bring somebody else in here. So all jokes aside, all trolling aside, messing around, I do like hearing that Toia is getting those reps, but more so not because of him, more so because it's going to push Mozzie's ass.
Oh no, no, I agree. And then also too, I mean, Coach Whitecotton is a proven coach.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the guys are appreciating his attention to detail, as far as technique and what they're being asked to do. So I'm also looking at what type of what they're asking Mozzie to do, coaching wise and things like that. Who is pouring into him? from that standpoint. But I don't know. I feel like who's the other defensive tackle? Who's the other nose tackle?
I don't lie.
Um,
I mean, you got Justin Rogers on a roster. I mean, that's
yeah,
about it. You know,
yeah, that is. That's what I more so was asking is like, um,
that's
and
it.
and then they have Tommy from
I like him,
Maryland.
but he's more of a three.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that, and that's what I'm saying. It's like you don't even have they. I think they're gonna have to grab another defensive
I
tackle,
agree.
another nose, just for depth. Even if it's just for depth purposes. Even if you are happy with what you see from Mozzie or are happy with what you see um, from
Toia.
Mama Talia, yeah,
Yeah.
like you probably still need another guy because these guys' motors are not built like that. That's not how nose tech works.
That that and to why there's a sense of know how when it comes to veteran defensive tackles and playing a run. They just know how to do it, and we haven't seen that from Mozzie just yet. He does not have it at all. There's still awareness factor he's trying to figure out. And Jay
Mhm.
Toia is a rookie, so he's gonna have to learn that know how in the league. There's nobody on the roster at the nose tackle position that knows how to defend the run in the league right now.
Yeah, not a nose tackle.
Not a
No,
nose tackle.
absolutely not.
No.
And I'm sick of that. I'm sick. I'm sick
Yeah.
of that. I'm tired of that. Like, please get a steady veteran defensive tackle in here and keep him so he can mentor these other guys. This is not we. How are we not nourishing a position that we all collectively agree takes about 3 years to really get their footing on? Why would we not? Like, why would we not take the time to make sure that there is somebody that is a foundational piece to build up the other guys? And we've seen this in the linebacker room. We've seen this in other rooms. Like, for the love of muffins, please give these guys some mentorship so we can go about our business.
I did a show with the former Super Bowl champion years ago. He said something that stuck with me when he talked about having veteran guys that have been at the top of the mountaintop, whether it be a Super Bowl champion, whether it be as an All Pro Bowler or whatever. He said you can't have the blind leading the blind,
Mm?
and I was like, damn. Yeah, that was profound because in this room, or at least at nose tackle, who is that? Justin Rogers hasn't played a snap. Jay Toia is a rookie. Mozzie Smith is still trying to figure this thing out. And I know you can say, well, we had Linval Joseph last year. We did, and Linval Joseph was your better nose tackle. When he was out there.
Mm.
And who was the other guy? Jonathan Hankins, right? Now, granted, those are older guys, and me personally, I'm looking to get a dude, not just an older guy, but beggars can't be choosers at this point. So all we pretty much got is bring somebody in that can mentor and help these guys and help the team.
I don't care if they old, as
Yeah.
long as they know how to teach these guys what they hands supposed to be doing.
Well, maybe they have a guy in that room. Maybe you can't tell them how to do nose tackle things, but you brought it up, Solomon Thomas, and
Yeah,
also Adigizuwa also brought him up. As one of those veterans he was praising, and Solomon Thomas. First of all, he looks like a WWE version of Dak Prescott. Like if you created a player in WWE 2K25 or AI, you said AI create me a WWE Dak Prescott, you get Solomon Thomas.
man, he is a freaking unit,
Yeah,
and
sneaky get.
I'm paying attention to him because I have the more that I'm around the building and I'm around and I hear players and stuff, this name gets brought up a lot. Furthermore, it's because of the leader that he is again. Because you got to think, who was the three tech before Osa? Did Osa turn into the mentee turned mentor very quickly too? It feels like that.
Immediately to I
Immediately.
because if you remember his rookie year, he wasn't supposed to play that much,
Yes, but
but
he got
guys got
yes,
hurt.
yes.
Yeah,
So he ended up going from being like Osa has been like the three tech almost since his rookie year. He didn't get a chance to have somebody like teach him the ropes and all that stuff from a player standpoint. So this might be the first time he's getting mentorship from that position. And
that's
what
interesting.
better of a time for it to happen for him
Mm,
after he is, to me, I think Osa is in his prime. I think he's stepping into, I think he has another level he can go to.
I
Just
agree.
not that much more, but just a tad bit more. I think he can refine his pass rush ability just a little bit more and be like dominant. We saw it in the numbers last year. It's like, oh, this guy is starting to get it, and he looks shredded. Sky, he just looks like
You
somebody
know,
built.
I hate. I'm not trying to. He's not Aaron Donald, y'all, but that's really his body type.
Oh yeah,
You look at him and
he
you're
made
like, this motherfucker
force.
is not no defensive tackle. He got a six pack. Like what? My defensive tackle supposed to be sweating grease, pizza grease out of his stomach, and he got a six. So he got more Aaron Donald in him from a physique standpoint than he does Pat Washington or something.
Yeah, but sorry, excuse me. Talk to a couple players
Damn,
about
I bore
some.
you. I bore
No,
you.
no. My brain yawns like my brain when I'm thinking. I do the
Hey
yawning.
chat, hey chat. Apparently, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and press the damn button because
No,
All right, chat. No, I'm just messing.
no. Seriously. Okay, real quick.
Just
Fun
messing.
fact: when I worked during COVID, I worked in customer service. I took calls. I found out that one of my anxiety triggers is like my yawns. Like my brain will literally like before I was answering calls, I was having yawn attacks because I was
Yawn
anxious.
attacks?
Like literally where I could not
That's
stop yawning.
diabolical.
I know it's so terrible. Like, first of all, hey, focus. What you doing, camera? You hate me or something? But yes, though. So if I get the Yannis, just let me make it.
I'm messing with you. You know I gotta have some fun with you,
Oh,
man.
just
But
let me make it. But Solomon, I'm people were talking about his explosiveness off the line, and you see that in his first step,
yep.
how quick it is. Like and he's powerful as well. I think he's going to. You said it yesterday when we was on the telly. You said that you think he's going to be the best backup three tech that Osa has had, and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, Chauncey Golston, when he played three tech, you could argue, he had some success there. But last year, Chauncey's career season was mostly as a defensive end.
Edge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't a no star. I'm sorry, a three tech. And this is massive. And I think he's going to help out Osa because Osa's not going to have to play 85% of the snaps. So you keep Osa fresh. That's great for when teams want to, throw the ball and he can get upfield in that way. Plus, we also talked about how you say it's an extension of Flus's defense. He's also an extension
Yeah.
of what Aaron Whitecotton is trying
Yeah.
to preach, having, been under Aaron Whitecotton for 3 years. So I think it's a very sneaky veteran get from a depth standpoint, and in that locker room, that was one of the few signees early on in the free agency that said, okay, this makes sense, and I get why they gave him a 2-year deal.
Yeah, last year, 23 to 24, 8 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 12 QB hits, 942 snaps. I put in my notes when I was watching him the first time, I'm not sure where he will line up. He can play inside and outside, but I think he's more of a pass rushing DT than an
Yes,
anchor. Um,
100%.
he can get driven back sometimes on double teams. I think he's going to be a rotational piece, but an important rotational piece. Lots of feedback on his character and the type of person he is, of the original notes I had from him.
Bang.
So yeah, I just wanted to go back to them.
I got to give you a Mike Brain bang right there. Man, you nailed that. I think you nailed it.
Yes. So yeah, he's someone to definitely keep an eye on. And again, like I've been hearing his name a little bit more, and it's making my ears perk up. And I'm like, okay, do we have an actual guy that can come in and be threatening when Osa needs a breather? Because Osa don't get no breathers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Also don't get no breathers. I don't think people understand the conditioning he has had to take on to be, and I'm sure he heard the whispers. Like don't
Yeah.
get it twisted about, oh, he tapers off at the end of the season and this. I'm
But
like,
it's real.
this is but it's because he's being asked to do more than half of the other people. Also,
Exactly.
yeah, and Osa's
It's
also
fair.
not hurt guy. He's
It's
not hurt guy.
it's fair criticism, and it's not his fault. It's just definitely as a young player, as you're figuring out how to navigate through this league, yeah, you're going to hit a rookie wall. You're going to hit a even young player type of wall. But last year, though, I think that changed. I do think he learned how to, okay, I got to, take care of my body in a certain way. I got to learn how to, preserve energy, if that makes sense. I'm not saying he's going to take plays off or anything, but just doing things differently so that he can last longer in the season. And obviously, contract year, he did that. But that's why I think having a Solomon Thomas is going to help, keep Osa fresher the more, they get into the season. One real quick about the defensive line here. Donovan Izaraku, you brought up that you saw him doing some off-ball things, and I thought that was interesting a little bit as well.
Yeah, Donovan is and shout out to Joe Hoyt as well, my guy. He was standing next to me for DLS. Yeah, he was standing next to me. And we were talking kind of through everything. And yeah, so Izaraku is acting in a Micah capacity right now. Dog, he again, they not in pads and stuff, but the movement, the bend, the way his body just naturally is a pass rusher. Like some guys you watch, you just like, oh, you was made for it. Like this is what you know. And yeah, they were doing this thing where they would have him show and go, and he was kind of dropping into coverage, I guess you want to say. Now, it made my spirit a little stressed out because I'm not a fan of that a lot of the times with defensive ends, but maybe they're just testing some things out and seeing if he can do it,
I'd imagine.
or that's just the nature of the drill, right? Or we're working on, like, again, I told you the running backs are in receiver, spots basically. We're trying to see how well you guys can cover that. We're trying to see how well you guys can deal with that. I did see him carry a running back down the field, and I was like, y'all seeing this? Like, why is he able to do that?
There's actually a play he does that in college. I think it's either a tight end or a running back. Might even been a receiver. Where I was like, what the hell? They threw like a bomb on him, like 40 yards down the field. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Don't want to see that again. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It does make me go, oh, I'm not sure I want him going backwards.
No.
But, and tell me if I'm reading into this too much. You said it and kind of breezed past it. He's operating in a Micah Parsons role.
So, yeah, he is.
Right.
Yes.
So Micah's not there right now, y'all. Obviously it's voluntary contract stuff. I totally get why he's not there. But when you said that, I'm like, are they going to be asking Micah to do more of this, like how DQ had him moving around? And I'm okay if they have him moving around. I think Micah's the best when Micah is not stationary on one side. So I'm very intrigued to see once we get to minicamp, which is mandatory, if that follows over, right? Crosses over with Micah doing some things where he's in multiple spots.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the whole reason why I was kind of paying attention, because I was just like, well, I think you're supposed to be Micah, but I don't know if I would like if Micah was doing all that. They rotated guys in and out on both ends of the defensive line. I still don't know what to expect from Peyton Turner. I'm going to keep paying attention. I know he is a guy that can maybe help you in the run. Dante Fowler is still disruptive. And again, I think one thing that we learned from Dante Fowler is, yes, this is a third down pass rushing edge. He, towards the end of the season, and I heard a lot of Commanders people talk about this, towards the end of the season was tired, very tired. Being a full-time DN, like he got elevated snaps, because in Dallas, he wasn't getting as much. And we were all like, why isn't he getting more time? Why is he getting more time? Maybe the coaches knew that stamina wasn't there with him as far as like being able to do that continuously. But he is a guy that's going to pass rush the passer, and that NASCAR practice is going to be nasty.
Yeah. I
mean, it's going to be filthy.
Aaron Whitecotton said he wants these guys, I'm not going to use the word to be tired, but he said you need to have waves of rushers and waves of D linemen, because if you play the game the right way, you shouldn't be able to play 90 snaps. It's not possible. So, and then you look at it, Micah Parsons, Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, Marshawn Nealon, Davin Izaraku, you're like, all right, they're going to be using all of these guys because Whitecotton wants those dudes to have their lungs burning.
Yeah, and Nealon is the one. Nealon's the one for me. I'm looking for him because you can tell me how you felt, Scott. Man, those first few games, you like, this is a grown-ass man. The way he was handling the run, sealing the edge, disengaging. Like, we don't see young players be able to come in and fit the run that comfortably that early. And I was like, okay. But then he had the MCL, and you're looking for him in a pass rush capacity. Like, do I know he can stop the run? Absolutely. But it's limiting, and it shows your hand in a way to me if you have to run him out there and all he's doing is stopping the run. If Nealon can really tap into being more of a pass rusher, I think that's going to take this defensive line to the next level. Because I think what you're getting out of Izaraku, what you're getting out of Fowler. Obviously, what you're getting out of Micah.
So how you view Nealon and tapping into the pass rush standpoint is how I view Easy E and tapping into the run part, because I think Izaraku, and I think we talked about this, is already a better pass rusher than both Sam and Nealon. I think he has a bigger bag. I think he's just made to be a pass rusher. So if he's able, and he actually is a very smart run defender, he's just not physically a run defender. That makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
If he gets stronger and he learns how to play that as a run, he's my guy. He's the guy I don't want to take off the field because this dude is just a pass rush demon, and he has the IQ to be good at defending the run. I just don't view Nealon as a guy that's ever going to be able to tap into being a high-end pass rusher, which is fine, right? Like he can still be a role player. I think the problem with Nealon, and this is the thing, when he got drafted, I said this, when I did my review, he was a Zimmer guy. This was a perfect Zimmer fit. This is the type of guy Zimmer wants on his defensive line. Set the edge, bigger run guy, left defensive end. The problem, Zimmer wasn't going to be around long. So what happens when Zimmer leaves? Now you get a new defensive coordinator up in here, and things change a little bit. So he still has a role. They're going to rotate these guys, but I just don't see Marshawn Nealon being that kind of pass rushy dude. But I don't really need him to tap into that to the high end. I just need him to be able to give me a little something to it, because I view Nealon as more of a role player than more of a dominant starter, if that makes sense. Which I don't think nothing's wrong with that.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think anything's wrong with it. I will say I felt like, whereas I don't think he's like a dominant pass rusher type person, I do think that this is someone that, like, based off of what I saw even last year, is someone that could be dominant against the run.
That's his body type. That's his
And
game.
yeah. And honestly, I mean, the times I've spoken to him and things like that, and when you look at his college tape, he didn't win with fancy pass rush moves and toolbox. He won with tenacity and just never giving up on a play.
Which is perfect for White Cotton.
Which is perfect. So I think whatever his role is going to be important. I really hope he steps into it and he owns it, because I will say, if you're a guy that's a pass rushing, well, if you're a guy that's a run stopping defensive end, but you want to be more of a pass rushing guy, and you see Izaraku coming here with a freaking heavy duty tool bag like this,
crazy bag,
you gotta figure. I think, like you said, I think this is gonna be a year where Nealon figures out what his role is, and hopefully he can encapsulate that and thrive in it. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. And so he's someone I'm really trying to keep an eye on moving forward, because I feel like whatever he does is going to be important. It is, like, whether it's the run stopping or not, I think he's going to be important to the rotation. Now, I will say about Sam Williams, I saw him working with Britt Brown. Sam has never been super bendy. That's never been his game. Like, he's just crazy athletic. He's still you can tell he's still trying to get some trust in that knee. So I just want people to be patient with his rehab process and things like that. And I think that's why they got Izaraku. That's literally why.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Sam's on a 1-year deal. This is his last year. He's
can't wait no more.
Yeah, he's 3 coaches removed. I think they had to go into this draft with Sam Williams not in their vision. And when Izaraku falls to you in the second round, and you look in your defensive line room or edge room for the future, you're like, we don't really have a guy that can get after it from a quarterback standpoint, opposite of Micah Parsons. Like, we don't have that guy, like, for the future. Sam Williams likely won't be here. Nealon's not that type of guy. And then what? You got a bunch of veterans on 1-year deals. So, yeah, that's probably why they did take Easy E.
Yeah, no, I understand it now. Like, seeing Sam and seeing him move, I'm like, oh, you
patience. Then
you need it. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying to everyone right now, is that we might have to have some patience with him and him getting back, because I was watching him move yesterday, and I'm like, okay, he's still, again, never been bendy, never been a guy that's just gonna be able to turn the corner. He is incredibly strong. But as far as planting on that leg and going, can he do it? Yes. Is it popping yet? No.
And it's going to take mentally.
Absolutely.
Is he going to trust it and think? Because Malik Hooker said something to me, or not me, but said something years ago where he's like, "Oh, physically I'm fine. I mentally I'm not back. I don't trust it yet. I'm a little nervous about it, et cetera, et cetera." Let's get to the second. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, let's get to the second level of the defense, the linebackers, real quick, and then obviously we'll get to the cornerbacks before we get to fourth down. One of the guys at the linebacker position I'm extremely high on, and I believe could be a middle linebacker for this team, is Jack Sanborn. And I was wondering where he would be at. We didn't get too many reports from the linebackers until most recently. And I love what I heard from your notes out there. Where exactly has Jack Sanborn been lined up, as well as Murray and Maris Leofau?
Mic check 1 2 1. Like I think Sanborn's gonna be your Mike. I can't believe
I
it.
think that's his best spot. I think it's the best spot for this team. I'm with you. We'll see, but I'm 100% with you. But kind of elaborate on why and what was happening out there with him.
Oh yeah, no. Just seeing some of the lineups and the way they were doing things. Maris Leofau
Kenneth Murray.
and Kenneth Murray were no. It was Kenneth Murray and Sanborn that were with the ones. And I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
And yeah, and Maris Leofau and Damone Clark were working with the twos. Now, again, they're moving stuff around and things like that, but I do think that we might see the veteran guys kind of take lead on this. Now, I was under the impression that Maris Leofau, given what I know, what I've been told, and why they drafted him, they envisioned him being the Mike. But we did see him do some things from the Sam position last year, getting through trash, scraping, all that stuff, and that was something he seemed comfortable doing as well. Maybe they want him to be a little bit more free or whatever the case may be. I think that Sanborn is going to be essential to what they want to do defensively, especially with DeMarvion Overshown not coming back right away. I think this is a guy that's kind of going to steady the ship for you. And I think fans are going to really like Sanborn.
I
I think they're
agree.
going to really like how he plays and how, just determined he plays as well. He's
Instincts.
he's a
He's
tone setter. Yeah.
IQ. He gets downhill. He can thump. I just think he and look. Obviously, he played under Matt Eberflus, so that's another kind of talk about Eric Kendricks comparison with Solomon Thomas. Well, here's a apples to apples comparison because he's a linebacker, right? So you get Zimmer in here. Zimmer needs to bring in a guy to help bridge that gap. He gets Eric Kendricks. You get Flus in here. You need a guy to bridge that gap at linebacker. You bring in Jack Sanborn, who has 3 or 4 years in that system. So and he can play, y'all. Like this isn't just he's in here to bridge the gap. He can actually
Yeah.
play, and with Leofau, I like Leofau. I love his game and whatnot, but he's running into possibly the similar problem, not problem with kneeling, but drafted specifically with in mind a defensive coordinator that's no longer here to play a specific role in a specific way with a defensive coordinator that's no longer here. So it does
Yeah.
not shock me that they go out and when you trade for Kenneth Murray, he's $7 million on a cap. They want him to play. Now, can he get beat out? He can get beat out, sure. When you go out and you sign Jack Sanborn, who was 3 years under Matt Eberflus, and he's a good player, to me, you said it. The veterans seem to have the lead. It doesn't shock me because the sponsors in the building for those other guys are not here right now.
Yeah, I mean, don't get it twisted. I think that Maris Leofau is someone that they revere. They have a lot of respect for. They want him to succeed. They want him to play. Obviously, they are, like I said, they are rotating guys. And speaking of, like I was talking about guys that have bodies have changed. He ain't got bigger too. he he looked a little crazy too with all that hair, and you know how he worked. But I no, I do think even from what I've seen from Kenneth Murray, because I had to go back and like think about it and stuff. Because remember, I was telling you, I was just like, I don't really know what to expect from him based off of the film that I got from him last year.
Wasn't great.
Yeah, he's just sound. Honestly, like, yeah, you see some of the athleticism, like the way he's able to get to point A to point B really quickly. The lateral quickness is still there with him, but I think you did like your point is that you needed some more veterans in this room and you got them. So let's just run with it and see how they pick up the system.
I will say this: there's more of a question mark for me with Kenneth Murray than there is for Sanborn. Like I feel very comfortable in Sanborn, establishing himself as a full-time starter. Whereas it's very possible we could get in a point in the season where we're like, okay, Leofau is doing more of the Kenneth Murray things, and shouts out to my guy Jonathan Owning. He is very very in tune in Kenneth Murray, and he was like, if you actually go back and listen to what everyone is saying about Murray in the offseason, everyone raves about his athleticism. The problem is we get to the season and that kind of football IQ gets a little bit, twisted, and he's not as good as what people wanted him to be. So we'll see what happens with Kenneth Murray. I know they want him to be a guy, but we'll see if those guys can push him.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the linebacker room is How do you feel about the line? Do you feel better about the linebacker room now, or did you feel better about it last year?
Oh, last year because healthy DeMarvion Overshown, Eric Kendricks, I think it was a better 1-2 punch, and then I like Leofau too. 1-2 punch than this group, and that's again I like Sanborn, I like Leofau, but I think last year's group, healthy Eric Kendricks, DeMarvion Overshown, that's a really good 1-2 start. Now, if you told me DeMarvion Overshown's healthy, that and I like Sanborn, so I mean you could be like maybe it's not much of a drop off there, but I like last year's group. I may like this one at the end of the season, but I like last year's that started.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we like them at the end of the season because
Yeah.
last year we were super high on them.
Yeah, and they started
And
off
it,
fantastic in year in week
yeah,
in week one.
yeah, we were super high on them, and then injuries just derailed everything. So
Yeah.
hoping for a healthy camp this year. And now we about to get into the secondary, huh?
Real quick because I want to jump the fourth down and close out the show, so we're not keeping these the wonderful fans here for 2 hours. But hey, there's a
How
lot
long
of
has it been?
it's been over an hour, which is fine.
Chronicles.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's been it's a lot of good nuggets here, y'all. So hopefully you guys are still sticking around here and enjoying this because you don't want to miss out when Aisha's down there on the ground. She reports and brings back and analyzes things in a totally different way, in my opinion, than what you're going to get from just a few tweets or what you might get from just no offense to reporters. They're reporting, but they're not analyzing in a way I think that 2i does. So that's why you got to tune into the Sky and 2i shit, right?
Y'all, I was out there. First of all, it was hot. It was we were about to like everybody was melting, and then I was like, I had my hands on my knees. I was like, I'm trying to see.
Hands on your knee. Hands on your.
Nah, you about to get me beat up. You about to get me in trouble. You about to get me
Hold on.
fired.
Hold on. All right, let's get to this nickel situation. Let's kind of discuss it just quickly here. There's a cat that we both like. I liked him last year too. He didn't get a chance to play, but Keemon Hall, man. I can't wait for preseason. That's where he's gonna get his real shot. But you had high things to say about Keemon Hall at that nickel spot.
Oh yeah. Just watch them go through drills, and again, that's what you do at the combine. That's what evaluators do at the combine. They're looking at your turn. They're looking at how fluid you are. They're looking at your back pedal, and they're looking at you make plays on the ball during these drills. So I'm watching them. I'm watching them just like I would if I was looking at the combine. And I'm like, oh yeah, his hip turn is more fluid than really anyone's. Like the steps aren't choppy. The guy is literally, he has a quickness to his, he has a suddenness to him, and he turns and he can go. And I obviously, like you said, we saw him during preseason make plays on the ball, be feisty, jam at the line. And I'm like, okay, he has the attitude for what I think you need your nickel corner to be like. You need a nickel corner that is okay with getting hit in the mouth and having to get back up. The nickel corner, from what Jay Lou taught me, is an extension of, it's literally like the bridge between the first and second level. A lot of people think about the linebackers being, that bridge. The nickel corner is a part of that. So they have to communicate, they have to be able to get through trash, and they also have to be able to come up and tackle. It is a tough job. And losing Jordan Lewis, you gotta have somebody that matches that energy. Obviously, we saw Israel Mukwamu do some work at the nickel. Wanye Thomas did some work at the nickel. But when you talk about temperament, I think that we got to keep an eye on Keemon Hall, because a lot of dudes can play boundary. Not everybody can play nickel.
No, but the guy you left out there that I mean, he just encapsulate that position and what I think Flus would love in the nickel, which is why he's playing it a lot, is Deron Bland. I think Deron Bland is a physical corner. He can tackle. He comes up and hits. He can cover you. We've seen him play well in the nickel. And I know reports are that he doesn't, I don't want to say he doesn't want to do it, but he prefers to be on the boundary. And maybe the Cowboys are going to need him out there. But I totally get why they're trying to see if he's going to make the most sense in there if they have a healthy group on the outside. The problem is that position group right now in totality is dealing with injuries between Josh Butler, Savon Ravel, Trayvon Diggs, that they kind of just have to figure some things out right now and experiment and see what works. I don't think there's much experiment that needs to be done with DB. I know DB can play it, and I know he fits it perfectly. It's just that, well, if he's in there, then you're struggling on the outside. If he's outside, there's possibility maybe struggling on the inside. So it's tough because you wish you had 3 Deron Blands. You only got 1.
Yeah, I'm really wondering who. Now, and here's another thing that I did not. I think I did tweet about a little bit. I put in there. Kyer Elam is feisty,
Yeah, sounds like he's having
and
a good OTA.
the thing that I was taught about him, yes. So Bree, she is on our on Girls Talk Boys Talk. She's the beat reporter for CBS, and Bree,
Shouts out to you,
she was
Bree.
telling, yeah. She was telling us about him because she covered the Bills last year,
Hmm.
well, the year before last, and she was like, he would have a really good play, and then the other play he would get cooked or he was struggling, and so she said that she recognized his confidence was kind of
Mm.
shaken, and we know that about corner. I see a confident corner out
Mm.
there, and he feisty like he got caught on the outside. He got pinned on the outside, and one of the running backs was able to escape and have some yardage. And I saw him just slap the ball. He was literally like, like he had an attitude, and I was cackling. I said, I mean, but I like that energy where he just like, dang, like, and then also too, he made a couple plays. He had a pass deflection against Dak over the middle, like on a crosser, and and I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay, this seems like a confident, feisty player. So if Kyer Elam comes along and he shows that he can play that boundary spot, it does ease you a little bit with Deron Bland, not knowing if Deron Bland is going to be in the nickel. Because I think the nickel is more important right now. And for us, it's more
Yeah,
important than that boundary
you know,
corner right
your girl bringing that up, I hate to say this, but it's giving me Anthony Brown vibes.
now.
Um,
No.
I mean, confidence is very key for cornerbacks. And I remember when Anthony Brown was here, when Anthony Brown was a confident quarterback, he was very serviceable. When
Mm-hmm.
he lost his confidence, you saw it.
Yes.
And I look, I
Huh?
I I I don't like from here's what I want to see. I want to see how he bounces back when he's
I agree.
inevitably beat, because that was something that AB could not do consistently. And you saw, and when teams picked up on it, they said, got him,
Are we going at him all
got
day?
him.
Because
You
we know
know,
he's not
he's
gonna get out of his
he's
head.
shaking, he's shook.
Yeah,
Let's go.
yeah.
And in a way, it's cool to hear that. Oh man, he's a confident guy. But another way, it's like, oh, it's just all confident. Like he needs to be confident all the damn time. Not saying that you're not confident, but what's that word? In Marvel, right? We talked about Marvel earlier. What's
Mm.
your secret? Banner. I'm always
Oh, I'm
mad.
always angry.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm always angry. That's what it was. I'm always angry. So it's like, all right, you're going to get beat. And I had this conversation with Deron Bland a few years ago. I said, I'm not going to lie to you, DB. When you were in camp and you were just killing it, I was like, man, this kid is proving a lot of people wrong, even me, because I was like, fifth round pick, we'll see. But I was like, I want to see what happens when he gets beat because he wasn't getting beat. Then he got beat in Seattle for a touchdown in preseason. He came back and was locked down the rest of the game. I said, okay, this kid has a bounce back mentality because you're going to get beat in the league. But can you bounce back and can you make plays? So here, I didn't know this about the kid, right? That there was a confidence issue with him. Now I'm going to be monitoring, okay, what happens when he has a bad day of practice or a bad game or a bad preseason game? Can he bounce back from that? Because that's going to be important early on if he's going to be counted on out there. Because he's a first round pick. He has talent. He has skill.
Yeah, the ability is there.
But
Like,
it's,
I mean, the length, the ability,
yeah.
all that stuff is there. So yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm just keeping an eye on him, how he responds. Like you said, I don't, I still like, yeah, the corner position is they at least need one more.
That's
I'm
another
sorry.
position. I love to go get a veteran guy that might be
Yeah,
available in a few
might
days.
be, might be,
We'll see. We'll see.
might be.
Let's get the fourth down, close out the show here. We're going to go back to a segment we did last week called Say What,
Mm.
which we will take a look at or listen to, really, one of the players speaking in the locker room. And a lot of them said some things, man. Osa, I love what I heard from Osa talking about, some of the teachings he's getting from Eberflus. And he was saying something along the lines of, man, if we were being taught this last year, I would have made plays. So there's going to be opportunities in this defense. But I want to go back to somebody you briefly mentioned earlier, and Tyler Guyton, who is a player that, a lot of fans are like, man, we need more from you. And rightfully so. He even said it himself. I need to be better. No excuses. What happened? No excuses last year. I wasn't at my top of my game. I want to be better. But I'm more so going to speak on what he said about Connor Riley and make sure I get this quote right. They asked him about, hey, how is it playing under Connor Riley? And he said, quote, he actually has a real bond with us, so that makes us work harder for him. And when I hear that, I go back to there were a lot, and you know this, there were a lot of players on that line and with Mike Solari that they were just like, man, what are we doing?
Oh yeah.
Right? Like I'm not like, what is this? And Connor Riley, it was a college coach for a long, long time. So he knows how to connect with these guys. Solari is about 80 years old and was here under, Tom Landry. Let's just be real, he doesn't know how to connect with these guys. And I know you might say, well, Sky is football, just go. But the human aspect matters. And if Tyler Guyton can be coached up into those things, right? Because a lot of his issues, aside from like mental rookie stuff, like, hey, man, I got to figure out how to be a pro, are technical and physical issues in the
Yeah,
sense of
technique.
hands and technique and coachable things. If Connor Riley can coach that into him, I think you will have more than a serviceable left tackle over there. You have a left tackle you can trust, but he does obviously have to go out there and show those things to us.
Yeah, I mean, and he sounds comfortable, and I'm just gonna be straight up with you, like from being in the locker room and talking to these guys in this offensive line last year, like none of them were really comfortable
With
doing the
Solari.
things that they were. Yeah, like I don't believe any of them were really in a place to where they bought in to the system and how the ball was being run and how those things are. I mean, even guys like Tyler Smith, is gonna do his job.
Yeah.
He's gonna do what he's asked. He's gonna perform. We saw. I don't know about you, but I did. I saw little declines in certain areas of his play as well that I hadn't seen. Where I was like, oh, he's more efficient. He's normally more efficient doing these things, and because this is a unit. So if one guy's not getting what's supposed to be going on, it throws off everyone. And I didn't think that they worked well as a unit
Mm.
last year until maybe like the latter part of the year when I think they did start kind of getting what he was asking. But before then, it was a lot of
It's
misassignments and confusion.
yeah, it's kind of a like a known secret now that Solari, it just didn't mesh with not just the players, but
Yeah.
with it didn't the run game didn't complement the pass game either. Well, Clayton Adams, Connor Riley, and Schottenheimer are all aligned here. Okay,
Yeah.
I think they're going to complement each other. I think from a coaching standpoint, Adams and Connor Riley's resume speaks for itself, and from a schematic standpoint, I think what we'll see out of Clayton Adams will help these guys tremendously. I said this before. I think the offensive line and run game in general is going to improve by default because of those dudes, no matter who's back there running the ball. Now,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, it'd be nice to have even better runners, or if you want to say better players at certain positions up there. But just having these guys in the building and with their teachings and coachings and scheme, I think is going to help all these dudes. But Guyton is possibly a linchpin on that offensive line, right?
Yeah.
Like if Guyton takes that step, watch out now, because now we're talking about Guyton being a guy, Tyler Smith being a guy. We know Booker's a dude, Connor BB, Cooper BB, right? And
Yeah.
then Terrence Steele can be your Doug Free. If Terrence Steele's my Doug Free, I'm good. But if
I'm
Terrence Steele's my Doug Free in 2011, I got problems.
I think that when Schotty mentioned in regard to Tyler Guyton, that he felt like Riley and Clayton have brought fundamental things, like things that fundamentally that fit him. I feel the same way about Terrence Steele. I think that
Oh,
Terrence Steele should see.
Cuzzo's my guy, but
Yeah, I think we should see improvement in his play,
yeah, I agree.
especially again being now 2 years removed from the ACL. Um, but also, I just think he's a scheme fit for what Clayton
I
likes to
agree.
do as well. So, I don't know. I will say I did take in what Shotty had to say about Guyton, because you can see it in his body language. You can see that he is a lot more comfortable with self. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he is confident in what he's being asked to do. And he thinks he's seeing the results of being what because you got to see results as a player. You got to see, like, okay, my coach is telling me to do this. All right, I see what happens when I do this right. I see what happens when I do this right. And I think that's kind of where he's at right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing Guyton continue to grow, but Shotty seems confident in the fact that this gentleman is like growing as a person and as a player, and that these coaches are essential for that.
He
Because I,
he he looks
yeah,
and sounds more confident too.
yeah, he does. He does. He's definitely lost some baby fat in his face, and things like that. He's very lean. He's huge.
Sure.
I mean,
Look,
he's
I'm about to
already.
say, I know there was a big whoop about a picture that a angle about him
Mm,
looking small, but then the Cowboys took a picture of him walking out. I said, that's not no small dude.
no,
He's
he's not.
just tall. But he's every bit of 330 pounds. It didn't look small to me, at least. Like if you go look at the
No.
pictures of him out there working, that doesn't look like a tiny guy. He's just a tall guy. And he talked about wanting to get stronger, and that's something that he said he worked on in this offseason, was taking care of his body more. He understanding that as a professional, the diet matters. And I think a lot of these young guys, they're learning that as they go.
Yeah, it takes time. You can't just be.
It's
I
tough.
can't. I can't say. I can't say that.
Diet discipline is real, man.
Yeah, you can't just be eating Doritos and.
Well, I mean, remember you talked about Ferg. Ferg brought that up after his rookie year. He said, "Man, I had
Oh
to
yeah.
switch up my whole diet. I didn't realize, man, how real it was, to go through a 17 game season." So I think Guyton being coached under Connor Riley and Clayton Adams, you will start to see that development. I always believe he was a 2025 guy anyway, but now he's getting better coaching. Yeah, I think you start to see
Okay,
it.
okay. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself.
Uh-oh.
Can we hold him hostage?
Who?
If Clayton is good,
Nope.
can we do a hostage?
Nope. So my and I hate that I'm saying this, and we're definitely getting ahead of ourselves here. But if Clayton is who
Proven. He's
if Clayton
proven.
Adams is who I believe he will be, I'm gonna give like 2 years, maybe 3.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't think he going for one. No. I
Oh,
don't.
I'll take it.
Nah.
I just don't want him to be a one and done. I'm gonna be hurt.
Nah. I don't think that's the case. I think it'll take a few years, or maybe more. Here's what I hope. And now we kind of in the deep end and fourth down. Hank Fraley, okay, Hank Fraley, the offensive line coach in Detroit, probably should have been getting a little bit more looks, a couple years ago. But he finally just started getting head coaching looks. I think Seattle, or offensive coordinator looks. Seattle tried to go poach him from Detroit, didn't work out. My hope is that we get a Hank Fraley run here. Hank Fraley been the O-line coach in Detroit for like 4 or 5 years or something. So if we can keep old boy for 3-4 years, cool. The problem is he's not an offensive line coach. He's offensive coordinator. And you hardly keep offensive coordinators around long if there's success for a football team. Teams are hiring OCs more than they're hiring defensive coordinators, almost 3-to-1 ratio. So, and I know he's not calling plays, but his resume is proven as a coach. So if we can keep him for 3 years, I will be throwing a party.
Listen. I was looking at the 2024 Arizona Cardinals, like the run game. I mean, basically every important factor in the run game, they were top 10 in, at the very least top 5, and a lot of the key ones.
Man.
I'm trying to see. Look, Mike. I'm trying to see what it's like. I'm trying
for Mike F. Don't do nothing on that right now.
I'm trying to see what that's like for a minute. I ain't even trying to.
Hey, listen to this. This is a cool stat, and we'll end it on this one here. So in Clayton Adams' first year as an assistant offensive line coach in Indianapolis, they became a top 10 rushing unit. That was the first time they did that in almost 2 decades.
Wow.
Okay. His first year in Arizona, they became a top 5 rushing offense. That was the first time they did that in 44 years.
Come on, stats.
Clayton Adams' first year in Dallas. Just saying.
He's a difference maker. We talk about how many times we talk about, like, sometimes you talked about at the beginning of the show. Sometimes it ain't about the talent on the field, bro. Like, it's gonna be, do you have a competitive edge behind that clipboard?
Come on.
And this guy gives you a competitive edge.
I think he does.
I'm excited. Don't get me happy.
I think that's a perfect way to close out this thing, is on a high note with our guy Clayton Adams. But this has been episode 2 dose of the Sky Into Eye show, and man, we really gave y'all some. Well, I should say 2i gave y'all some real good nuggets from OTAs, man. So we will be back. Episode 3 maybe next week. We'll see. Definitely next week, because
it's OTAs, right?
Yeah, we got one more OTA practice June 3rd, and then we get a week off, and they'll come back and they'll have a mini camp, and our mini camp coverage is going to be A1, just like our coverage for OTAs. So y'all need to tap in with us, man. Let's get this thing going. What I'm gonna try to do is get this audio on the podcast platforms. I know everyone can't watch us, so we can you guys can at least listen to us on audio. Because man, I'm telling you, man, having the privilege to work with 2i when she's down there is huge.
Yes. And I'm gonna let y'all know, like, listen, hey, if I had said something, remember, this is OTAs. If I had said something, and it magically changes, don't be DMing me. Don't be talking to me crazy.
Well, 2i, get ready for that. I mean, we in this space now. We in this space now. They gonna hold on to everything you say and they come back. Well, you said in May. That's how it worked, bro. May
23rd. Like, y'all don't be talking to me crazy. I'm just saying what I see.
I hear you.
I'm not gonna lie to you about what I see. So don't be meanie butt to me. I'm gonna be meanie butt back.
Meanie butt's crazy. Get up out of here, man.
Get up out of here. I gotta grow up.
For 2i, I'm Sky. This has been the Sky 2i Show episode 2. We'll see y'all next week, man. We out here. Peace.
When you call a role model, because a lot of these models out here playing roles. That's it right there.